Hello, Rog fans. Today we are Rog ranting about the fact that modern programmers are rubbish. How could you say that? How can the Rog the Great One say that modern programmers are rubbish? Modern programmers are rubbish. They're rubbish for a number of reasons. Now, the Rog talks to a lot of people in the recruitment industry. Knows a lot of people in the recruitment industry, and other people who work in other sectors who occasionally recruit people from colleges and schools who've got computer MVQ, la-di-dars and all that sort of stuff to go and obviously do jobs and stuff. And they universally all say the same thing. They've got very poor problem-solving skills. They've got a very poor knowledge of the language that they're using. They've got very poor communication skills. Their code is badly structured. It's written lazily, and it's very badly commented, if at all. And there's no naming conventions, if any. And that's shocking. That is absolutely shocking. And these people coming out of these places with these bits of paper under the illusion that they're programmers, when they're not. They're not programmers. Very few of them would have independently written something that was actually of any worth to bring to an interview and show them. All they've done, nearly in every case, is gone through these different courses. They start off doing a little bit of C#, so they'll do simple programs like hello world, or printing something on the screen, or you type in 5 bits of information and it prints the 5 bits of information. Occasionally, some of them will actually, there'll be a predefined database, and then they'll be drawing components on the form to do the work for them, connecting the data source and the data tables and the record sets, and then using that to read and write the data, which is okay at a beginning level, but that's as far as they go. They don't go any further. There's no depth of knowledge at all. They have no depth of knowledge how the operating system works, no depth of knowledge how the CPU works, how memory works, how the disk drive works, how the fundamental hardware is structured and works. They don't understand about memory allocation. They don't understand about security and the different types of operating security and how it can affect you as a programmer. They've got no knowledge of it. No knowledge at all. They're just sitting there using some crappy Windows system, using .NET, which encourages bloatware because it encourages people by its very design. I mean, Visual Basic, yeah. The explicit keyword at the top is always set to off, which means that you don't have to define your variables in advance, which is good programming practice. You can just create them on the fly anywhere you like, and you can override functions and override the overridden function and all sorts of stupid unnecessary crap, and they do it for no reason. Luckily they haven't got the curse that the C++ programmers used to have, which C++ programmers suffer from a lot, and that's classes for the sake of classes. You have nested classes for no apparent reason, which just piss away resources and make your program slow. They don't understand about resource management. They have no knowledge of it, so the code is always wasteful. And .NET encourages that. And they can't communicate and they can't solve problems. Their idea to solving a problem is to go on the internet. They don't learn from their mistakes, they copy and paste from somebody else. And it's terrible. And the fact they have to have somebody sit next to them for 3 to 6 months in any job to nursemaid them through to see if they're going to be any good, while that person's not doing their own job. So they're getting flack from management. And then they're dealing with somebody who can't communicate properly, can't say, oh, I've got a problem. And the one thing that they commonly said was that these people do not have the ability to say the simple phrase, I do not understand how to do that. Now in business, that's a very important phrase. Businesses like that phrase because they like to know what they can and can't work with. They like to know what you can and can't do. They like to know your limitations, because some businesses, they will push your limitations. They'll put you on courses, they'll give you extra knowledge. In other businesses, they'll think, well, okay, won't give that to him because he's going to completely cock that, so we'll just keep him doing this. That's efficiency. Yeah? They don't have that. They don't understand how the processor works. I mean, I spoke to one guy and I thought an ALU was part of the nipple. Same as Areola is an Italian goalkeeper. Unbelievable. They just don't know. And they're not taught it. That's because they're not taught it. And because they only learn one language, ultimately, because they come out with the website stuff, so they're already doing Python, mostly JavaScript, and that's it. They just do the one language. They don't understand the fundamental differences between the languages. They don't understand how to pick what language for what application and why that's important. They don't understand how databases work, which is the key that runs every computer system in the world uses databases. They have no clue about that. They don't even know the difference between a server and a mainframe. It's incredible. Literally have no knowledge. Now, when the Raj, the great one, when he was that's Raj Baby. When he was in the Van Halen era, which in human terms is 12 to 13 years of age, he learned to program on the Commodore 64. The Commodore 64 had only 64K of memory, of which only 32 could be used for programs. That's 32,000 characters is all the program could contain. And it only ran on basic, beginner's all purpose symbolic instruction code. But you could use assembler, which was twice as fast, but it was a lot more complicated because you couldn't just say print hello anymore. You had to know how the computer print stuff on the screen in the first place and do it yourself. Knowledge, in-depth knowledge of how the system works. You had to know, you had to be very clever with resources. You couldn't write bloatware software like they do these days. They come out of the colleges, you couldn't do that. You'd have no resources left. The program wouldn't be able to work properly. You had to be able to analyse things. You had to have problem-solving skills. You had to develop problem-solving skills by analysing, going through the code, going through it line by line. If necessary, reading the user's manual, which explains what all the commands do, to see if you've misunderstood something, and just seeing if there's any typing mistakes and stuff. And you learn to be systematic and analytical. These are peerless skills for a programmer. And these people don't have it. They're actually, if it doesn't work, copy of the internet. Or I'll get somebody else to do it for me. They don't sit and learn because they're not indoctrinated to learn. They're indoctrinated to read and recite. It's a bit like the Terminator 2. Yeah, if you watch the standard version of Terminator 2, Arnie's got his chip set to read only, just like these people do. They've been taught so much, they've been told that that's it, shoved out. They haven't got the chip set to read right. So they're not capable of analysing what they're doing and thinking, hold on, that's wrong. No. I've got to do it like this. And so these people are a blatant liability to businesses. And there are loads of jobs now available for programmers that are not being filled because all they're getting is these muppets coming from colleges and universities who haven't got a damn clue, real understanding of the language they're using or the computer they're using. The operating system, they don't even understand it. And it's shocking. Absolutely shocking. Now, when you come from a system, and the thing is, and you look at the coursework and the structures that they do, that we'll have to learn, it's less and less with each generation. It really is. When the Rog was learning about computers, he learned all about the Blaze Pascal design, basic design for the CPU, and how it works. Through programming the Commodore 64, working with very limited resources, I learned about page boundaries and stacks and registers, typecasting, which variable types use more memory than others, and all sorts of really useful information on how to write code that was small, efficient, compact, and was well commented. Because I learned very early on, when you're dealing with a computer system where you can only have variables of 2 characters in length, and you're writing something like a stock system like I did the other month, it's very, very hard to understand what the hell these things are after a while. Because there's so many different things you need variables for. And there's only 26 letters in the alphabet and you're only allowed 2 of them. Now you could put int num equals 0, but the compiler, the interpreter, the processor will only see the word in. And in is a reserved word, so you can't use that. So you get an error. You think it's syntax error. You think, I don't understand that. You think, because they're going to use 2 characters. So we learnt that. Then he went to Pascal. When Roger went to college, he was learning Pascal, which is a brilliant language. And through Pascal, Roger had 2 languages now in his belt, Basic and Pascal and 6.5 O2 assembler. He had a bigger understanding of how the computer works internally because he'd been working with machines that have very limited resources. Then exposed to Windows, he learned how Windows worked internally through the API, how it managed its resources and stuff like that. More and more knowledge. And then, of course, that went to Visual Basic, learned C++, learned more languages, then got into database systems, SQL Server, and all that malarkey. Microsoft Access, using the old VBA, the JET and the DAO and the ADO and all this malarkey. And it gives a huge foundation to understanding how computer systems work in a business, from data storage to customer perception at the end. And they don't have that. They have none of that infrastructure. They can't create a database system. You can give them a copy of that Microsoft Access, or, for example, so I want you to create, all right, for your university degree or for your college thingamajig, I want you to create a website for a fictional business. This website needs to have an inventory. It needs to have the ability to create customer logins, store customer details for delivering stuff and all that sort of jazz. Yeah, you need to create a shop so that they can buy things. You need to have a stock inventory system, a primitive stock inventory system and the database end for all the quantities of things. You need to have a very primitive system for creating delivery notes that are printed to the customer or shown to the customer or emailed to the customer so they know that their order's been placed and expected delivery dates and all this sort of jazz. And they don't do any of this. That's how most basic companies work. They've got a web... even if you haven't got an internet presence, you've still got a database system, you've still got a stock system, you've still got accounts, you've still got purchasing, you've still got sales. They know nothing of these basic structures. And they only know one language, which is a variation of C++, which is geared towards internet programming. That's why modern programmers are rubbish. They have no fundamental understanding of what they're really doing. And they have no flexibility to go beyond it. Now the Rog, they don't even know the difference between a server and a mainframe. If you want to get a job earning big money, you need to understand mainframes. They haven't got a damn clue. Now, most of these people I spoke to think a server is just a normal computer with more memory in it. Unbelievable. Because they don't understand computer architecture. They don't understand what multi-cores actually means and why it's a good and bad thing. They don't understand threads. They don't understand what threads are and why threads aren't as good as IRQs, but why threads are more important in modern computing than IRQs. They don't understand it. They're a liability. And I'm seeing more and more, as I say, businesses advertising jobs that I'm talking to people in the industry for literally years because they can't get anybody coming in with fundamental knowledge of either A, business, or B, the programming language, or C, the actual role they've applied for. It's shocking. Modern programmers are rubbish. I mean, I can program in 6 languages fluently. I mean, that's amazing. So I can pick and choose. I know the strengths and weaknesses of each. They only learn one language, really. It's horrifying. Well, if you've got any comments, which I'm sure you have, chuck them in the old comments below. And as usual, I shall read them, have a chortle, agree with something. That's an interesting point of view. I don't really agree with that point of view, but I'm leaving the comment on because it's important. Because it's self-expression. Now, this is not a fascist dictatorship. It's the land of the Raj. So as usual, don't forget, it's not reality. It's YouTube.